It's me!
You just made the list!
I am the B-E-S-T.
I'm better than you, and you know it. Damn!
Welcome back to Down Under the Mat podcast here in Madison Square Garage around the pool table of relevancy. To my left, Mr. Daniel Danielson. To my right, Styrofoam Rey Mysterio. And I am in desperate need of a haircut, but you can call me Booker Ted, and we are here to do a full review of Full Gear, which we've just finished watching moments ago.
Yeah.
We're going to go through every single match.
I'm setting
with
us a
us.
challenge too here, Ted.
What's that?
That we have already sat for 4.5 hours watching the pay-per-view.
We're not going to sit
Right.
for 4.5 hours talking about it.
No, absolutely not. But the challenge for us is to have watched the pay-per-view, record this podcast, and get it uploaded before Tony Khan finishes his press conference.
That's possible,
I think
you know?
it absolutely
I think
is.
it's very doable. I think that's very doable. Obviously, as you can see, Styrofoam Ray is filling in for Rowdy Roddy Reese this week. He's off having fun down in the city of churches, I believe.
He is in Adelaide.
Yeah.
We're going to get much more, less opinionated views from Styrofoam Ray than we will from Rowdy Roddy Reese, I think.
I don't know. What did you think of the pay-per-view, Ray?
See? Better than Reese.
His microphone's not turned on. That's the problem, bro. Yeah, they can't hear.
But
Don't worry about it.
we heard it.
We heard you. We'll just let them know your
We agree.
opinions.
That death match was a bit much.
Oh, dude, wait till we get to that. So, yep, it was Full Gear. There was a couple of matches on the pre-show, so 0 Hour as they call it.
Yes.
On
Which I watched.
on AEW. So you got both of them. I was able to turn up and catch the second of the.
Third
was the
match.
third match? It was three. Sorry, there was
Three
three
matches in the
There was
pre- so
three on the pre-show.
I woke up nice and early this morning when you were
Yep.
like, well, we'll watch the pay-per-view. I was like, all right, let's do it. So then turned it on to start with, and it was half an hour of Renee Paquette talking about all the matches and watching videos.
Yep.
Wasted my time, that's fine. Then we had Eddie Kingston beat Jay Lethal.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
10-minute match.
There you go.
It was fine.
It was part of that Continental tournament,
not
is
yet.
it? Or?
Not yet. This is just for the
okay.
ROH title.
Oh, right. Okay. All right.
It was a fine match. It was an Eddie Kingston match. The commentators
It's a lot
were
of
all-
punching and kicking.
Absolutely that. Jeff Jarrett was on the outside.
God.
Nigel McGuinness kept telling us how horrible of a woman Karen Jarrett is, and I can't disagree with him. So it was fine. It was what it was. The next match was Claudio Castagnoli against Buddy Matthews, which...
How is that only on the pre-show, man?
Correct, I agree.
And I missed it too. I'm really upset I missed it.
Oh, it was a good match. There was a whole bunch of European uppercuts from Claudio, because that's
Yep,
what he
of
does.
course,
There was
yep.
a really nice reversal from a move that Buddy was doing into the swing that
Yep.
Claudio does.
Yeah, I was going to ask about if he did the
He
swing
did,
at all.
yeah.
Okay.
The match came from some of the House of Black guys. I think Buddy beat Wheeler Utah
Yep.
on Collision, and then that's why he's facing Claudio on the pre-show. Good match. Claudio ended up winning it, and at
Yep.
the end of it, he kind of went to shake Buddy's hand, and Buddy kind of just brushed you off and walked away. So there's probably some more tension between the House of Black and the BCC, which is good, because I'd really like to see the BCC as far away from Orange Cassidy as physically possible. So
We'll get to that.
I'm all right for that thing. And then the third match on the pre-show for the
Yep.
0 Hour was the one that we all cared about, and why people would have tuned into it was
tag team
the
match.
tag team match.
Ring
So-
of Honor tag team titles, we should point out.
Correct. So MJF and Mystery Partner against the Guns. It was revealed on Collision that MJF had finally agreed to let Samoa Joe be his partner. I think in Collision, I only saw highlights of it, was that MJF came out to try and get the Triple B off Jay White.
Yep.
Failed. Guns were beating him down. Joe came out, saved him, and eventually Joe just walked right up to MJF and they finally shook hands. So
Okay.
he made a deal with the devil. Per
Oh,
se.
or did he? No, but look, this was a good match, man. Like, it was fun. Samoa Joe, I think the only problem they're going to have with Samoa Joe is, and I won't give away the rest of the pay-per-view yet, but if he does get his title shot that he was promised, if he helps defend.
If MJF retains, right?
Yes, correct. The problem is he's very likable in this, even as a heel.
I think that's what I said to you with these two characters, and the way I like that they've booked them is MJF is a heel,
Yep.
always has been, always will be, but he's now our scumbag.
Correct.
Everybody cheers for him. Samoa Joe is a heel.
Yes.
He's a bad guy.
Yes.
But everybody loves the way he wrestles,
yes.
loves his character. So
Yes.
we cheer for him.
Exactly.
So if you keep them that way and they can have just a good competitive match to see who's going to be more of a chicken shit than the other, all for it.
I reckon that'd be a good way to do it too. You do like who can do the dirtiest thing to win.
Yeah.
Just who can out dirty the other one.
Correct.
You know, how
And
many
it's
low
out
blows
dirty
can
the
it
other.
take?
It's not out heel the other, it's out dirty.
Yeah. Low blows galore,
Yeah, cheeky little
knuckle
jokes and
dusters, everything.
grabbing the ropes, grabbing the tights,
Yeah.
all that little stuff.
All that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
I mean,
Okay,
the match was fine. I quite like the guns. I really like the guns entrance too. Like, I think it's a really sick the way that the whole thing goes black. The camera spins around them. They have a really good look and a mystique. They did it also on Rampage, Collision, one of the two.
Yep.
Injured Juice Robinson, so he wasn't here. So that
Right,
leads
that
into the
took
rest
him
of
out.
the night. But they took him out, so Juice wasn't part of all this stuff.
Yeah.
The match was good. Obviously, the big swing of the match was when Adam Cole's music hit.
Yes, which was the distraction.
The distraction, he hobbled out on his crutches.
Samoa Joe locked in the Kirifuda clutch.
Yep.
And
And one of the guns tapped out to it.
and MJF was holding off the other gun as it was happening.
Correct. The couple of cool moments in it was when Samoa Joe was going to go for the muscle buster.
Yes.
And MJF tagged himself in.
Yes.
And then
Yes,
MJF
that
was going to
clever.
go for the kangaroo kick, and Samoa Joe tagged
Tapped
himself in.
And then also walking away from the drop kick. Because normally
Yes.
he walks away from a top rope move, and this
Yep.
time he did it for a drop kick, and it was perfectly timed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Looked brilliant. But what was most important about this match, obviously, is they retained, and MJF shook Samoa Joe's hand to give us all the idea that he's going to hold up his end of the bargain, and Samoa Joe will get his shot if he defends successfully against Jay White later in the night. But what was very interesting is that something that made a big impact on the storyline of the pay-per-view happened on the pre-show, which was after that match when the Guns attacked MJF after the bell.
Yeah.
And obviously Adam Cole was there but couldn't do anything because he's on crutches with the moon boot on.
I can't even remember. What happened to Joe? Did he just walk away?
He just walked away. He shook hands and then he left up the ramp. And then
the Guns.
And then the Guns came back and attacked. And they essentially took out MJF, injured his quad or his knee.
Yeah. Chair shots from the knee.
Chair shots, did the old trick of sliding the leg into the chair, jumping off the top rope, bang. MJF gets stretchered out with 2 minutes to go until the pay-per-view starts because the clock was winding down. Gets loaded into an ambulance. As he's being loaded into the ambulance, screams out to Adam Cole, "Don't let them take my title.
Don't, Adam!
Adam, please, whatever you do, don't let them take my title." They close the doors. Ambulance is gone. Adam Cole is standing there looking like, what am I to do?
Very good hook for the pay-per-view. And I mean, from a wrestling TV perspective, if the pre-show's on YouTube or whatever, you can see it for free. If you see that angle, you're kind of like, what is going to happen?
Well,
maybe I should spend the $20 to watch this
Maybe you
pay-per-view.
should, but this is where if you're a person at the building, you go, this is the match I came to see,
Correct.
and I'm potentially not going to see it. So, it was interesting. It obviously made you think, where are they going to go with this? Because you knew for a fact that, they can't just can the main event. It's the main event. So what were they going to do? But then obviously we got into the main show, so that all went black.
Do we want to just go to the main event? Let's finish.
Do you
want
want to finish that story, or do you want to?
We can go match by match.
I think we should go match by match.
alright.
I think we should get there at the end.
We can make our listeners sit through the same
Yes.
questions that we had the entire
Correct.
night. All right.
So
cool.
anyway, we thought after that match, we actually thought, okay, this is starting off really well. Considering, I only saw the one of the three pre-show matches, but the one I saw was quite good. And Dan, you yourself thought it was quite good.
It was fine. The way this pay-per-view kicked off, we took a little bit of issue getting onto Fight TV, but we got there.
Yeah, we got there.
Starting it up, the kids coming out and singing the Christian's theme song for the patriarchy to come
That
out.
was pretty cool.
Oh, this is a good start to a pay-per-view.
I'm loving the whole patriarchy thing, though. The whole theme around Christian. He is 100% the best heel
Absolutely.
on TV. I know, don't get me wrong, right? I don't think he'd sell out arenas like Roman, but in terms of just the heel work that he's doing, he's absolutely brilliant.
Yep.
And at least he's showing up. But anyway, so this was a 6-man tag match. So obviously we had the Patriarchy Christian with Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne,
Yep.
who were having their 3-man tag against Adam Copeland. So I nearly said it.
Oh, you did.
I nearly said it.
Yeah.
It was on the edge of my tongue.
Bravo, well done.
So against Adam Copeland, Sting, and Darby Allin.
Yes.
And I know that you absolutely hated the way that Justin Roberts introduced them. What was it he called Adam Copeland? The superstar.
Oh,
Because he can't say
They
rated R.
can say rated R. He's
Well, he
called the
didn't
rated R
though.
superstar.
He didn't though.
I know.
He was the
put in
super.
Oh, just Justin. And
He
Justin
loved
Roberts
it.
looked like a shitty version of the Joker that you ordered off Wish with his horrible yellow shirt.
Look, okay, some of his announcing, I'm starting to understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
However, I will
appreciate
not
that.
hear a bad word against that man's attire. He's a well-dressed man.
I would love to see you in that yellow shirt.
Women go crazy about a sharp-dressed man. Just ask ZZ Top. So anyway...
The other thing to that entrance that I quite like the makeup.
Yes,
So
yes.
Sting, and then you had Darby with the left side edge with the Adam.
So Sting with the
side.
full face.
Yep.
Darby with one side. Adam
with
Copeland with the other.
Correct.
And I did like the matching outfits though, like the fact
was
that
all
they're
good.
all black and white. I thought that was really cool, and the fact they all had baseball bats.
And the one thing too, I think I mentioned to you as we were watching it, I don't quite like the Kia Arena staging, like the way it's set up, because the hard cam angle, if you see some of the photos and highlights from it, it's a basketball stadium obviously, but instead of having the raised seats, sort of ringside, courtside or whatever, it's flat. So the doors where people were coming in and out, getting their food and stuff, was clearly
right on the hard cam.
hard cam side.
And
So-
for anyone who's been to local indie shows like ourselves, and we are these type of people that if you
Yeah.
tend to get a seat on the floor at the back, you tend to just stand up and stand at the back of the room so you can look over everyone's heads sitting down. And that's exactly what these people were doing at the back of the floor. We're standing up against the wall. And AEW, there was no security there to stop them from doing it. People were just standing there, but you could also see people going in and out, going to get food, drinks, go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit distracting. So I think
That's
maybe
not-
they
it's
could have
not
looked at
their
it better.
fault.
No, but they could have made a plan, you know what I mean? And make it like a no standing space or something, you know?
I did
like,
notice too throughout the show they did more sweeping shots on the hard cam side because they had a full crowd.
Yes, they did, yeah.
And the point I was making that was to the start of this entrance where Adam Copeland only normally runs to the one side. This time he got to go both sides because there was crowd on both sides for it.
We're going to have to change his name in any script to Pause, Adam Copeland.
Think about it.
Because you got to think about it. You know, obviously they went to both sides, and I think it was kind of cool that Sting did Edge's entrance. I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of cool. He did like
And they all came out to
the
Edge's
running,
music.
which was cool.
I mean, Adam Copeland's music. So we just
Let's just call him Edge, man. It's too hard. It's too hard. Adam Copeland is just too much. But you know, it was a cool entrance. They came down, and I know we've been very critical of multi-man matches in AEW, and I have to say, this is probably one of the better ones I've seen.
I think it was. I think the way they told the story throughout the whole match, and I think we both said this watching it, was much more WWE style.
Yes.
Possibly because, you know, you had Adam Copeland and Christian running the match.
Correct.
But it seemed like rather than being a ridiculous spot fest where the camera and AEW can't keep up with what's happening.
Yes, you were able to see everything.
Everything was focused on when it
Correct.
needed to be focused
We,
on.
we saw the important parts to tell the entire story. Like, even the beginning with the slow start with Christian embracing Nick Wayne and being like, you know, I'm your father and all that, you know, that whole thing. And then Darby did his Darby best where he just took bumps like a champion.
That choke slam from Luchasaurus
to the
into the
apron.
ring, over the top, onto the apron, and Darby just hit the apron and rolled.
And you could see, because the way the refs ran over, I think they were like, oh, he's legit hurt. That's a bad bump. But he carried on. He completed the match. We should also point out, actually, so before they came out, Ric Flair, the Bag of Bones, also came out before they did.
I almost forgot about
So
that.
he's ringside for Edge and
In a horrible purple suit
Sting
that
and
looks like
Darby.
some grandma's curtains.
Man, wooing away. How many woos do you think he has left? Can't be many.
It depends on how much woo energy he drinks. it's an exponential amount of.
But
woo.
what was good is both Dan and I agreed. We said he's better. He better have a reason for being at ringside, which is he's got to get beaten up or something
He's
to
gotta
get
take
some
a bump
sort
or
of
do
heat.
something.
And it did actually come later on, which was good, because otherwise him being there just made absolutely zero sense, which still kind of made zero sense anyway. But yeah, the whole match was great. There was some really good spots, as you said.
The tease of towards the start of the
Yeah,
match where they got the tag to Adam Copeland.
Yep.
And Christian was on the other side.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Let's go, ready," and Christian just
Tags out.
out he goes.
Luchasaurus comes in.
Perfectly timed.
But then-
Every time they even
Yeah.
thought about they were going to fight.
But then I think it was because it happened a couple of times where you thought, oh, here we go, they're finally going to face off. And the last one was when Christian was really like scrambling out of the ring, and Adam Copeland got his ankle and was like pulling him back in. Like they just timed everything really well in this match. Everything just seemed to pull off timing wise. There was no awkward waits. There was no awkward pauses. Like when we say Adam Copeland.
We were on the edge of our seats for them to
just
fight each other.
Yeah, and there was a few times where you weren't sure who was actually going to win, to be completely honest. They really did a good job in making it seem like either team was going to win. Luchasaurus was really played off like the dominant big guy that he should be in the match, so I think he still looked quite good, even though he was the one who took the pin in the end. He still looked like a strong wrestler, which I'm very surprised that Nick Wayne didn't take that, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't even remember how he got written out of the match. He took a bump somewhere.
He took a bump and he got written off somewhere.
The finish with Christian going for the title shot, knew that Adam was going to die.
Oh, 100%.
He hits Luchasaurus. There's a tension between Christian and Luchasaurus. Then he runs away.
It's got to come.
It was a good finish.
Yeah.
The low blow from Christian on Ric Flair is what you were talking about before.
Perfect. It was perfect.
I did find it a little annoying. Like, Ric Flair, he ate it and he sold it really hard. But then the match finished
and he was fine.
A minute ago and Rick was jumping up high-fiving Sting. I was like,
man, he probably uses pills these days anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It was a good it was a great start to the pay-per-view, to be honest. I thought, here we go. I'm really keen. It's a great start. These matches are looking good. It was quite funny, though, because obviously they did want to make a big deal out of it being Sting's last match in California.
Yeah, it was.
And
or LA or whatever.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think he said California. I don't even know where the pay-per-view was.
It was in LA. That's where the
yeah, so it was. Okay, cool.
LA, yeah. That's why they're in Lakers gear. Everyone's in Lakers
yeah,
colors.
of course. I'm an idiot. Yeah. I really don't know that much about America, even though, like, I've been there, but only to Miami, so it doesn't really count.
Why'd you go there to Miami for? Oh, was it to go on a cruise?
You tell me. Was that why I was there? So, anyway, it was really funny because Darby got on the mic and, was swearing quite profusely. Get on your effing feet. Yeah. This is Sting's last effing time wrestling in California, for F's sake. And because I don't think people realise, to be honest, because they didn't make it out that way. I think Sting purposely doesn't want to take the spotlight because that's his traditional wrestling ways, is I need to put others over, not myself. Yeah. So I think because he sort of begrudgingly got back in the ring and everyone else left and he sort of was there and I'll celebrate. So obviously it's going to be his tour of this is Sting's last time here. This is Sting's last time here. This is Sting. It's like the John Farnham last time tour.
Last time.
So, look, he deserves it, man. He's been in the industry for bloody donkey's years and, good on him. He's going to put other people over on his way out. Hopefully Darby, as we said. But
this should be his final match.
We'll see when we get there. The next match, Dan, what did we have on the card?
Orange Cassidy defending the International Championship against my mate, John Moxley.
Oh, man.
And I mean, the first comment that you made was, why is the champion coming out first? Why did OC come in before
Because
Moxley?
It's John Moxley and he thinks he's better than everyone else. Okay.
Because I think most podcast listeners already know my feelings on John Moxley. He's overly aggressive shit character right now.
Yes.
Can you please tell me how you feel after watching this?
Well, let's put it this way. Out of the 3 members of S.H.I.E.L.D., there's one of them that's really impressing me so far. And that's Roman Reigns. Right? The other 2, Seth and John Moxley, are doing my goddamn head.
Can I just remind you that the 1, 2, 3 of the PWI top 500 wrestlers.
Oh, you don't need to remind me. I'm well aware. And this is
Seth,
what annoys me.
Roman.
I know.
Dean.
I know. Okay. John Moxley has the potential to be a fantastic wrestler. He can wrestle when he actually wants to wrestle, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants to have a backyard death match every time he wrestles. Now, first of all, because they've already had a match together where they bled profusely, he's already come out with a Band-Aid on his head where you go, well, that's where he's going to bleed from. Because that's why he's covered it, because he's obviously kept it like that, so it's still weak, and, as soon as you touch it, he's going to bleed. Which happened, because somehow Orange Cassidy actually bled before him, which I'm absolutely shocked at.
Yeah, that's true.
But this match was just stupid, because, as you said, he no-sold the hell out of Orange Cassidy. Everything that he did, he just no-sold it. And then did this thing where, like, Popeye gets strung from spinach, John Moxley gets strong from bleeding. His own blood. Yep. He hulks up. Like, literally started doing the Hulk when he was bleeding. And every time Orange Cassidy
go again, Ted? Can you show
The hair's good for that.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I don't need to get a haircut. But every time he did a move, John just got up. He just got up like as if nothing happened.
What I said to you about why I don't like this feud is I love Orange Cassidy as a character.
Yeah.
The way that he was, right? Where he was defending his championship every week. He was always winning matches. He was a real workhorse champion. But I loved the hands in the pockets.
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy.
Good
the
fun.
little kicks, the flips, all that sort of fun stuff. I love that character of Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
Against Moxley, he doesn't do it because against Moxley, he's trying to kill each other.
Yes.
And so everything is hard elbows, hard hits, and hard. And it's just, that's not what Orange Cassidy's best at.
No.
So you've taken him out of his best style of match to put him into the style of match that suits John Moxley.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually ruined both of them.
100%. And I said this when we were watching it. I do feel, now obviously I don't know them personally. I have no idea. This is just my opinion.
Yep.
I feel like there's this idea that to get recognised as a legit wrestler, you have to wrestle some sort of death match with the guys from the Blackpool Combat Club, and then all of a sudden you're in. And you can wrestle however you want because you bled hard one time.
Yeah.
Which, that's not wrestling. Like, I get it. There's some people out there that like that stuff.
Which we will get to.
And sometimes blood is useful. Don't get me wrong. Right? Colour in a match can actually make a match better. But in this case, it was just stupid. We got to what we realised was going to be the finish. Right? Now, he goes for the orange punch. And I dead set said to Dan, how many orange punches do you think it's going to take to win this match?
3.
You said 3. I said 5.
It was 6.
I was one off. 6 goddamn orange punches it took for Orange Cassidy to win that match. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
The match itself was... Oh, man, I don't want to bury it too much because I'm sure there's probably someone out there who's like, I really enjoyed that match. It was not a wrestling match. It was terrible.
It was a brawl. Look, like I said at the start, I'm hoping that this means that the BCC can have a feud against, the House of Black or something. Just get them away from Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
I'm done with this.
I'm done with John Moxley. That's who I'm done with. He does the same match every single week. And I'm sure people could be out there and argue and go, oh, but John Cena did the same match every time he wrestled, and so did The Rock and people like that. But at least they had story. There's no story. There's never a story with John Moxley. So the difference
to me, right, is the John Cena, whatever, but Rey Mysterio, babyface, 5 moves of doom type thing that you'll see is crowd pleasing. Yes. The crowd cheers. They want to see those sort of moves and stuff. Nothing that John Moxley does is crowd pleasing. I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler. He's a good wrestler. But his moveset in general isn't... It's not babyface. No. It's not exciting or exhilarating to the crowd. It's bleeding hard way. It's hitting pile drivers. It's absolutely 1,000% done for AEW marks that love that kind of wrestling, which is fine. And I think it has its place. But it's been the same thing with him for months now. I don't care.
No, we're over
You give him his spots in your big stadium stampede, blood and guts matches where he can do all... Cool. He's in his element in those kind of matches.
Yeah.
But week in, week out on Dynamite and Collision and stuff, having the same match, bleeding every single time against people, it just doesn't do it for me.
How does Renee put up with it? Haven't they got a kid at home now?
Yeah, and then have to turn the TV off because Daddy's bleeding on every show.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, so Orange Cassidy actually got the win, which I was clean. A clean win. Well, 6 orange punches clean win.
Still clean.
And defended his title.
And then after the match, when best friends, Trent Beretta and that were there, and then Yuta came out and they kind of all shoved each other and stuff. Like it seems like they're going to continue something. I hope it's not for
again too much going on where Taz on commentary had to say what happened because the camera wasn't on what actually happened.
Correct.
So none of us care because we didn't see it. So
also correct.
Great production. So the next match was Tony Storm.
Timeless Tony Storm
versus Hikaru Shida for the women's AEW title.
Yes.
And I do like the added touch of the butler, Luther.
Yeah.
Is he a butler? What do they call him?
I don't know.
It's assistant or something.
Yeah, he's pretty much a butler. He carries things around for her. He looks after her. He opens the door in her dressing room
I think he does need to work a little bit on... I don't think he realises the camera's on him at all times because there are times where he just sort of is standing there. So I think he just needs to work on it a little bit more, because you can sort of see he just sort of stands there and he sort of loses that aura of being the assistant or butler of
He's got to be more
Tony.
cheerleader type on the outside.
Yeah, in a way, and just got to carry himself a bit more like it, I think. But, he's new to the role, and hopefully it'll get better with that. But
I do
like the touch.
I like the touch that Toni Storm's done for the last couple of matches, where she's had the script for the match to start with. Because obviously she's an Hollywood actress, and then they rip it up and throw it away. Yeah. That's a nice little spot for her. She did have the tune-up match on Collision the night before. She was already
red on her chest.
From the pre-match. That was cool.
The match wasn't very memorable for me.
The comments that I got here was about the script thing, and said even the commentators are quiet because the crowd was obviously sucked out of this match. They don't.
Yeah.
And it's, look, we've said this on the podcast for several weeks and for a while, is that the AEW fans don't care for women's wrestling. And I think...
But do they not care for women's wrestling because it's literally set up in a way where you don't care, because it's after matches like the one before?
That way.
Yeah, and I mean, this is for the women's title, for Christ's sake.
Yes.
It's 3 matches in.
Yep.
After that match that they had before, which would suck life out of any crowd.
Yep.
Like, you're setting them up for failure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say it was a terrible match.
That was fine.
But the crowd being dead definitely didn't help. But, I mean, the finish itself was very much...
The shoe spot was great.
Yep, shoe spot was brilliant.
So what happened with this? We've obviously known that Toni Storm throws shoes at people because,
Watch for the shoe.
Turns out to watch out for the shoe. Luther gave her 2 shoes because she had 2 heels on her little plate.
A heel for a heel.
She tucked into her pants. The second one she had. And then when she went to hit the person, the referee was like, hey, you can't have
Your
that.
mate.
My mate, Audrey Edwards, who had, like I've commented, Aubrey's hair and makeup was better than Toni Storm's in this match, so you're not the focal piece, referee. But so she took the shoe away, as she should have. So then she just
And as she turned to get rid of it, the other shoe came out.
That was a good
right
spot.
in the eyes.
That was
I thought that was going to be the finish.
So did I.
To be honest with you. Now, the finish that we did get to, and I'm sorry we're probably skipping over other points in the match, but as I said, it wasn't exactly memorable. But we don't even know what the thing was.
It was the plate that the shoes were on.
Oh, it was a plate.
Well, that's the way I could see it. So it
because the commentary couldn't even figure out what it was. They're like, is it a frying pan? What is it?
I think the way that Luther came out with the shoes,
it was a
they
tray.
were on this little silver platter plate type
right,
thing.
okay.
And that's what the heels were on.
Right.
And so when she took the 2 heels away, the plate was still left there.
So this plate was quite oddly shaped too. It was kind of round with a little sort of square bit at the bottom.
Yeah.
Kind of like a frying pan in a sense with a really wide handle.
I can see why Taz would think that.
well, exactly. Can you smell what Tony is cooking? So she put it down the back of her tights. Literally, so it was on her bum cheek inside her gear. Now we thought, is she going to pull it out at some point and whack Hikaru on the head? But obviously what the plan actually was that she was going to leave it on her bum cheek so that when Hikaru was in the corner, sitting down, Tony would do like a running bump.
Yeah, which she does. That's one of her moves.
Yeah, with her butt in her face, and the metal was going to knock her out. Problem being, Tony's tights were not that tight, and it slipped down into the netting that was see-through, so you could actually see the big metal plate, and Aubrey Edwards looked at it more than once. You could see she looked at it to be like, I shouldn't be able to see that. I need to move to a angle where I can't see it. But it was impossible not to see it.
Yep.
And then they just pretended like she didn't see it. And then got the 1, 2, 3. And then as Tony was leaving, pulled it out and gave it to Luther to try and hide. So no one sees it, even though everyone saw it. Look, I think it could have been a good finish if it hadn't have been botched like that. I think it was kind of clever, but the fact that it slipped down to be able to be seen.
Well, and the comment that I made to you, I mean, obviously those that listen know that I'm not a fan of Aubrey's refereeing in most times, but she was definitely too involved. She was too in between them in this match. She was always in the shot. She was always in the way.
Yeah.
And because of that, there is literally no way she could not have seen this pan.
But the thing is as well, man, I think this would have been hard for any referee. What do you do? What do you do? Because you know that's the finish. It would have been cleared beforehand that was going to be the finish.
Yeah.
Because if I stop this, how are they going to finish the match?
The only way to do it is to call a spot, I guess, where you say Sheeta, throw her over the top rope, and then Sheeta goes and talks to the referee while Tony adjusts.
Yeah.
That's the only... You'd have to say, hey, we can see it. Adjust. And you make a spot for it.
Something. Look, it's hard. It's hard. I think it could have been a good finish if it just didn't... If it didn't happen that way and you couldn't see it. But Toni Storm is your new AEW women's champion.
First three-time champion.
First three-time champion. Oh, there you go. Congratulations. A bit sad where it was placed in the card is my main comment for that. I think it could have been placed somewhere else and it may have been
I think this should
appreciated a bit more.
Oh, I mean, they were both title changes, but I think this should have been on after the TBS title.
Yeah, and you just gave away the TBS title, so good job, Dan. That's all right. I'm sure most people who have watched this have probably watched the pay-per-view.
Spoiler alert.
If not, spoiler alert. So then on to...
tag match.
Do we have the backstage stuff yet where Adam Cole essentially said that he was going to step in? Have we gotten to that bit yet?
I can't.
I think it happened.
That might have happened earlier.
There was some backstage stuff because obviously
It
we
wasn't even
mentioned
backstage.
before.
It was on the ramp.
Oh, that's right. It was. We'll get to that now because even though before we forget. So obviously we said before MJF went in the ambulance to hospital. They made it out. They came out onto the ramp. Tony Schiavone with the referee that was going to be in the main event and Jay White.
Yep. With the Triple B.
With the Triple B. And we're mentioning the fact that MJF can't compete. The main event's been cancelled. So by default, your new champion is
Adam Cole's music.
Adam Cole, baby, comes out on the crutches with the moon boot and essentially comes out and says, I've already talked to Tony. I will defend the title in MJF's stead. So it's announced that the new main event will be Adam Cole defending MJF's title against Jay White.
And on Twitter, Tony Khan retweeted that, saying that was going to happen, and Britt Baker retweeted it. It was like, what the F?
And fair enough too. So we'll park that for now. So that's the idea.
Your new main event.
That's your main event, right? So if you've been looking forward to MJF versus Jay White, you're now like, oh God, something's going to happen here.
And Adam Cole is obviously still injured. He's on crutches. He is not in wrestling.
No.
He's in shorts and Nikes.
He doesn't look like he's shaved for a few weeks at least. So that is what happened. Next match that we had then on the card.
Four-way tag match.
The four-way tag match.
Ladder
Which,
match.
This was a good match. I actually enjoyed this match. It started out really chaotic, as most multi-man matches in AEW do, and they didn't know where the camera was supposed to go. So it took them a few minutes, I think, to really get back on track and sort of figure out where the spots were, where should the camera go. But all in all, I actually thought this was a decent match with typical spots that you'd expect from a ladder match.
I didn't put a lot of notes down. I just wrote ladder spots. So they did a lot of the, like you said, the typical ladder ones, the ladder against the ring apron, so you get suplexed onto it, the ladder across your head where you swing around and hit everybody. They did that. They did the spot where every person's outside and people just flip out, and then they add one or more person to it until they eventually, I think they did a superplex out onto everybody on the outside.
Yes, they did, which I haven't seen.
That was a cool
I don't
spot.
know if I've ever seen someone do a superplex.
No, because most of the time it's
outside
people that go to the top rope and then do a moonsault or flip or
but to
whatever.
the outside was good. Big Bill did a hell of a choke slam on one of the Lucha guy who I can't remember what
Not
his name
Rouge,
was.
the other dude.
Yeah, and it was a hell of a choke slam. It had some hang time
Yeah, that was a good
for
one.
a few seconds. He got absolutely
And
destroyed
then that's
by
when
that.
Rouge put Big Bill into the corner with the ladder in front of him and dropped
And
that
kicked
in
in his
That was a
face,
good
yeah.
spot.
And then
The MVPs for this, in
Yep.
terms of the damage, have to have been the House of Black.
Oh, 100%, which we thought were going to win. The way it was going, it looked like they for sure were going to win this match.
Because, why was it? It wasn't Dax, it was the other FTR guy.
Oh, now you're testing me, man. I forgot. It's, oh, Jesus. Reese, where are you, mate? Where are you?
Anyway, FTR pile drived Malachi Black onto the ladder, which was a really good spot. Then Brody King took a spot off the ladder onto that ladder.
Yes.
As another spot. Huge. And Ted and I both commented that there was a ladder that was set up on the outside from the edge of the ring apron at the corner to barricade. And it had been there all match long.
A long time.
And no one had used it. And so we were like, there has to be a spot coming where someone goes through this ladder or something happens with it. Lo and behold,
And boy, did it.
they set up on the apron, and it was Brody King with, was it the Lucha dude? Or it wasn't Ricky Starr?
Yeah, no, it was the Lucha guy
Lucha.
again. And by the way, we're talking it's Cash and Dax.
Cash.
Cash is the other one.
All right.
We're professional here.
We are. We
Down under the map.
love our wrestlers. And so what did Brody do? He did a
It was a
like
pole
a jumping
driver.
pile driver
Yeah.
from the ring apron onto the ladder.
But he had him. What was weird is he had him in a power bomb position
Yeah.
to start with, and then like instead of powerbombing him, moved him into a pile driver
Yes.
onto the ladder, which, and the way he sold it, man.
And the ladder didn't give. It kind of
no.
slipped, and they both just fell off. And so then as soon as that happened, you watched Cash and Dax run in and then set Brody back up. Because clearly the way that the spot, I guess, was meant to go was that he was meant to pile drive him through it.
Yeah.
And the lucha guy falls off, but Brody then stayed on the ladder.
Probably, yes.
And it didn't happen. So they had to go down, pick him up, put him back on the ladder, and then they went onto the top rope and he frog splashed onto
And
him.
it was Cash that got up onto, I think it was Dax. It was Dax. Dax got up onto the turnbuckle and nearly fell backwards.
Nearly
He
fell off.
literally had a moment where it was, "Whoa!" and somehow kept his balance. Did the splash onto it, so that was really
And
cool
again,
moments.
the ladder didn't break.
No.
So
it
neither
didn't.
times it gave, even though I think...
It bent slightly, but not by much.
So that was obviously them done, and then Ricky Starks climbed to the top and grabbed the titles.
And they defended, which is good because, you don't want the titles jumping around too much. So, and I think they come off as legit champions as well because, Big Bill, he's big. Don't know if you can tell in the name, but...
Well, like you even said, when they did the standoff between Brody King and Big Bill, it was...
Brody
it's like
Brody
King's
King is a
dude.
big dude, and he made him look small.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how big Big Bill was.
He's an
no wonder they
actual
gave him that
7'4".
name. Yeah,
He's not a
he actually
WWE
is.
6'10",
No,
7'.
he is legit. So that was that match. As we said, it was actually quite enjoyable, considering most of those multi-man matches we see can be very chaotic. They were able to keep it in a way that was very enjoyable, where you saw most of the spots. As I said, the start was a bit
But they hit all the
All over the
ladder
place,
spots
but-
you'd want them to hit.
correct. Yeah, and it didn't seem like, other than that one we talked about where they sort of fell off, all the other spots seemed to go off without too much,
pretty well.
too much issues. So, and then next match we had was the triple threat women's
TBS,
match for the
yes.
TBS title. What did you think of this match, Dan?
Well, I commented because it was Julia Hart, who's 22, which we've mentioned. She's one of the younger wrestlers on the roster.
22, man, and she's got a whole lot of talent.
Chris Statlander, who you reminded me that her original gig was that she was an alien.
Oh, I'm not even joking, dude. That was a thing. And
And-
now she looks like she's part of the Cobra Gym.
And Sky Blue.
Yep.
Because everything about her is blue because her eyes and
Yes.
hair it's blue. She wears blue gear.
And as you said, and Julie Hart was red,
Blue
and then
plus red is
Statlander was
purple.
purple. Mix them together, you get purple. Correct us if we're wrong.
Correct.
Color people out there. Not coloured people. I mean, like, whoa. Let's just back up a minute.
Easy
Let's
up.
back up a minute. I mean, people who are enthusiastic about
about the
painting.
colour spectrum.
Yes. Whew.
Yes, good save. Anyway, I thought this was fine. I think there was some good spots. I have never really bought into the storyline that they've tried to see this through. And again, this kind of goes to the AEW not really giving the women themselves much time, especially on Dynamite, right? I really watch Dynamite. I catch some parts of Collision.
Yep.
But if you're, like, to be across this feud,
Yeah.
you have to have watched Rampage and Collision
Yeah.
to understand it. It's not... Because, like I said, at the end of some of the Dynamite stuff, where it's been a match between Sheeta and someone else, and then Statlander and Sky Blue walk out, you're like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Never made sense. If you watch Collision, they're feuding over different things, and it kind
Right,
of
okay.
made more sense. So this is one of the problems that AEW has, where you've got to watch all of the shows to get everything.
It was a fairly straightforward triple threat match. Again, problem I had here. Why was the TBS title on after the AEW Women's World title?
Yes, agree.
Why? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, I just don't. I think that for me that was the biggest thing. Even not the match itself. The match seemed okay. There was a couple of spots that were a little bit patchy, but I think
Sky Blue. Look, I think all three of these women are good.
Yes.
Sky Blue is quite good in the ring. I just don't really care for her character and the fact that are they going to turn her or they're not going to turn her. Who cares?
Yeah.
The code blue that she does, which is actually a code red, is whatever. That was a fine spot. The finish, I think, was a really good spot where Statlander hits Saturday Night Fever, which is a tombstone, but instead of like this, she wraps one leg weirdly.
And sort of goes on the side too when
Yeah.
she does it. Yeah.
So that's a cool spot. She hit that on Sky Blue.
Correct, yes.
And like you said, then she went for the cover, and Julia Hart
Was standing right next to him, and I
ran to
thought,
the ropes.
yeah, like, why don't you just hit her? Just break the pin.
So off the ropes, came back and clotheslined Statlander
Off of
off
the pin.
the pin, and then held Blue.
Sky Blue's legs. Yeah.
Got the pin. So
So
that
it's actually
was
a pretty cool finish.
creative finish, but just didn't like that's where you look at it, you go, oh, this is pro wrestling, because any other point in time, you see the girl next
You
to
would have
you,
just broken the pin.
100%, you just stop that pin.
So whoever came up with that finish was very clever. It was a good finish. What wasn't good was the comment by Nigel McGuinness. The house, because obviously she's part of House of Black, the house always wins, and as Dan pointed out when he said it at the time, except for the previous tag match where they didn't win. So the house doesn't always win.
Maybe
Thanks for that,
Julia
Nigel
Hart
McGuinness.
just always
Yeah.
wins.
No, look, as I said, it wasn't a terrible match, but I think placement was the biggest problem.
Yes, and
Placement was big.
I'm all for pushing Julia Hart. I think she's really talented.
She's 22 though, man. Like, slow down and let her get some time in the ring, I think.
Youngest AEW champion ever. I mean,
Congratulations.
she'd
that's
have
awesome.
to be close to youngest wrestling champion ever.
Well, it depends what you're talking about. If it's major television.
Like,
yeah.
what was like Orton and stuff? Would
Oh,
they-
dude, no, they would have been like 24, 25.
yeah,
Because it was originally Lesnar was the youngest. No, it was Rock, then it went to Lesnar, and then Orton, I think, beat it, but I think he was 24, 25.
yeah,
Lesnar was like 26.
Yeah.
Something like that. So 20,
22,
no, she's
still
definitely the youngest, but I mean, how old was Paige when she won the Divas title? She was young.
Yeah, she was
Remember?
pretty young
She was
too.
really young. So, but still, look, 22. She's got a lot of time ahead of her. I just hope they don't rush her too much, because you can just see there's a little bit she needs to work on in the ring.
Well, that's why I think it's good that she gets the TBS title.
Yeah, true.
You're not throwing her straight
True.
to the women's title, because
Yeah.
we both agree that should be the premium title. It's not
It should be.
trade that way.
It should
But
be.
yeah, I liked it. I think
Yeah. Again, placement was their biggest downfall with
Speaking
that
of
one.
placement, the next point we're going to have to bring up is the placement of Tony Khan's big announcement for his big contract signing. That literally
God.
every Dirt Sheet YouTube channel and every person that watches
Everybody
wrestling
knew.
has been. Well, they've not really. Everyone's been asking, who's it going to be? Is it Dolph Ziggler? No, because he's still at his non-compete clause. Is it CM Punk? No, it's because they fired him. Is it Mercedes Moné? No, she's injured.
Is it Ronda Rousey? No, she already made her debut for Ring of Honor the night before.
Is it Shelton Benjamin? No, WWE thing. Okay, well, is it Will Ospreay? No, it's not going to be Will Ospreay, because he's still under contract for New Japan until February next year. So we know that's not going to happen.
So why would they announce it now?
So why would they announce it? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so then who is it? Who else is still out there that it could be? Maybe it's Matt Riddle.
That's what we did throw that up. And then we realised and went, no, wait a minute. Their announcements never make sense.
Why would Tony Khan put an announcement for someone that is a world-class wrestler that all AEW fans would love and respect? And you're like, okay, well, it narrows it down. But
It does narrow it down.
It doesn't make any sense as to why this person will be announced on a pay-per-view card for Full Gear that you're not going to use them for Full Gear.
So the wait was ended. Will Ospreay
And what annoyed me
comes
is
to the ring.
there's no TK. There's no Tony Khan.
Nope.
Just Tony's.
No,
Schiavone.
I don't know where he was. He wasn't on the show at all. I
Where's
reckon he was
Schiavone?
off somewhere else. Schiavone was there with the contract.
Yeah, but Schiavone was just like, and here's the newest AEW signing.
And out comes Will Ospreay.
And that was it. Like,
So obviously people were pretty excited by this. But then our concerns...
settle down, bruv.
Yeah, bruv.
I'm not wrestling, bruv.
So we obviously, we mentioned just before, the concerns we have is obviously that he's signed with New Japan until February next year.
Yeah.
And obviously he then had to address that fact in the ring. Oi, calm down, shut up, calm down, even though no one was saying
bruv.
anything. He calmed the calm crowd down who were not saying anything at the time.
Yeah.
And pointed out, you have to wait for me, bruv, because I ain't going to be here till next year, but please do me a favour and just, still be happy about it. Yeah.
I signed with New Japan when I was 22. I've given them everything. I want to fill out my contract. I've still got a match announced at Wrestle Kingdom. I fully respect it.
But it ruins the whole point of the announcement, because now you've gone, but wait, not yet. Why didn't they just wait till next year? Imagine if you started off the year with a bang like that and you just kept it under your belt that we've signed him, right? So you can let rumours fly all everywhere for the next couple of months. Oh, he's going to sign with WWE. Oh, he's not. Maybe he's on Impact. Or he's going to New Japan.
Do you
Or
reckon-
he's going to the Indies. And that would have been an even bigger pop if you left it over Christmas, right? And you get into January
absolutely.
and you announce it literally like a couple of weeks before he wrestles his first match. Boom. You start the year off and everyone goes, oh my God, the biggest free agent.
Is it Revolution for AEW that...
I believe that's what he said, yes. The road
He's
to
on the road to
revolution. He's on the road to
Revolution,
revolution. So look, I have to say, man, I'm not excited by this.
I agree with you in that I'm not excited by this now.
No, but I will be
think
later.
the timing for it is silly. And I think that this is purely Tony Khan being like, look, I've got it now. I have to tell everyone I've got it now to give me a win, because I know Survivor Series is coming. There's all this stuff rumoured for WWE bringing people back and maybe signing someone large. He needs to put something out there, and I get it. I get that's why TK does these things. But I think I would have preferred Will Ospreay in WWE. I've said 100%. It before that I think Ospreay's match, and again, this week he had a really great match in TNA against Josh Alexander. Super match, right? And he even said after that match that he has travelled everywhere, literally everywhere, and he has wrestled everyone and everywhere. I love that with Will Ospreay because he's wrestled everybody in AEW I want him to wrestle.
Yeah, so who else is he going to wrestle?
Omega, he's wrestled Jericho, he's wrestled Okada, he's wrestled Ibushi, he's wrestled with Don Callis and the family.
He's wrestled
all of those sort of guys.
I kind of already considered him an AEW wrestler because he's been there so much, even though he wasn't contracted to them.
Yeah.
He turned up all the time.
Well, same as El Vikingo.
Yes, exactly.
He's not, but he's always there.
My biggest concern is the longevity of his career. Because Jericho already had to, didn't have to, but called him out of the blue and was like, hey, man, you need to slow the hell down. Like, you're going to injure yourself. You're going to finish your career. And we've already seen, and we're going to talk about it in a minute because it's the next match, there's no restrictions on what you can do at AEW. You can do whatever you want. You could probably go out there and murder somebody if you wanted to.
They tried.
So that's my biggest concern, is I want him to have a nice long career, and I feel like somewhere like WWE is going to be best for that because, he might wrestle once a month. You know what I mean? Like, he'll appear on the shows, but he'll be backstage or just involved in an angle, and then he's the type of guy who'll have one match and then a pay-per-view kind of thing.
Yeah. And I love Will Ospreay. He is definitely one of the most talented wrestlers in the world, if not the best between the ropes wrestler currently going around today. But I would have liked to have seen him varied with, see how he goes in a match against Roman Reigns. Can he fit that storyline? Can he have he'll obviously have a great match with Cody.
Of course.
With Seth.
Dude, he never a great match with anyone. I mean, look back at All In with Jericho.
Yeah.
It was one of the matches of the card. And Jericho is obviously nowhere near his best anymore. He still knows how to tell a story. But that was all Will Ospreay. Selling those moves. It was mainly Will Ospreay. So you could put him in the ring with absolutely anyone from WWE and you would want to watch it, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is as well, I did notice that when they announced him, obviously he mentioned All In for next year at Wembley. And I have a feeling that, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I feel like that's why Tony Khan did this. I think it was another buy your tickets because he's going to be there. Because why would you mention it? It's so far away. Well, and obviously they're trying to, because we've got we've got Backlash in Paris has been confirmed.
Yeah.
You've got Bash in Berlin has been confirmed.
Yeah.
And I think they're obviously getting worried that are people going to come to All In if we've got these other shows happening in Europe. And I know they're not happening exactly at the same time, but like anywhere, man, like to travel somewhere and watch a show is not cheap. It's not. This is not America where we don't don't pay anything. It costs money. So I think they're getting a little bit worried because obviously they've released tickets early, but people don't buy tickets that early to a wrestling show. Like, unless it's somewhere like Australia, right? Well, we get one every 5 years or something.
I think the crowd will still buy the All-In tickets. I think Wembley's still a big thing, but
of course they will.
The thing
I don't doubt that.
That AEW I think is worried about, like you're saying, is that last year it was the first time in 30 years.
Yeah.
This time it's the first time in 12 months.
So people aren't going to be as keen.
Why are we going to it this time when we didn't go to it last time? Or if we did go to it last time, is this going to be as good because it's the second time they're coming? So how do you get around that? You sign Will Ospreay and you have Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega 4 for the AEW World title. That's how you do it.
Yeah. But I just don't think releasing tickets this early is not going to sell you more tickets. People are going to buy the tickets when they know they want to go. Like, it's as simple as that, right? Nobody knows where they're going to be. Is it August? It's August, right? August next year. We don't know where we're going to be, mate. Like, a lot of people don't know. They have no idea.
I get your point, bruv. I do.
Yeah, bruv. Yeah. So anyway, that was the big announcement from the big announcement of the big announcement.
Unfortunately, it sort of disappointed us a little bit. But then that led into the next match.
Didn't disappoint me. This is what disappointed me.
So I'll talk about this first before Ted gets too sad on how this match goes. Because the problem with us was, if you've seen this match, you'll understand why some of our inhibitions are towards it. It was also poorly timed for us because we just ordered lunch and we just started eating. So
worst match to be eating food, man.
The second part of this, Ted, like I said, hasn't followed the storyline quite as much as me from watching some of the AEW stuff.
Would it have made me feel better?
No, not at all. But to really give the justification of the blood feud was that, they obviously disliked each other. Then there was the segment a couple of weeks ago on
So this is Hangman versus Swerve, by the way.
Swerve.
Yeah, Hangman versus Swerve.
So,
in a Texas death match.
correct. And the reason we have a Texas death match is because a couple of weeks ago, Swerve went into Hangman's house, broke into his house, and then went into his baby's bedroom and sort of cut a promo on Hangman and put a t-shirt on his baby, right? So that's obviously, you don't break into someone's house. So we've had those sort of angles in WWE where that sort of stuff. You also don't do it around their baby children, right? So I can see where we're going here. This is a blood feud. And then since then, they couldn't touch each other. They've had contract talks, yada, yada, yada. Dynamite this week, Hangman cut the promo of his life on Swerve. Didn't even let Swerve talk a word. Cut the promo on him, you were fired for 2 years ago. Your wife has left you. Your kids don't want to talk to you. Prince Nana's a loser. All he does is buy weed off high school kids. So at the end of this match, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to steal your weed. It was Hangman's best promo that I think I've ever seen him do in AEW.
Yeah.
So they have definitely built this feud right up.
Yeah.
And it deserved a big finale blood match type thing. But I still think they took this to 11, and they really didn't need to go this
11?
far.
Dude, they took this to 1100. It was insane. So Texas Deathmatch, by the way, I'd heard of it, but I didn't really know what the rules are. I've never really watched one because they happened in the years before that I really watched wrestling. But apparently at Texas Deathmatch, you can only win by submission or knockout, so count out essentially.
Yeah.
So you knew straight away. Well, this is going to be pretty hectic. And
I also commented to Ted how much I loved that they got dancers, girl dancers, to come out with Nana and do the swerve when I drive here. It's a Texas blood match and a blood feud, the most heinous thing you'll ever see for AEW. Again, the biggest heel of the match, and then swerve
when I drive, swerve when I drive. Yeah, look, it was a bit unheelish.
Whose house?
But then, look, what was cool because they did.
I
think. Sorry, Swerve's house. I didn't know that Swerve's house. What I liked about it, and what you've said, right, the build up to it to being a blood feud, they did everything right.
Yes.
Hangman even came out without his entrance. He just ran out, and the match started. He just started didn't even wait, right? Yep. So in that sense, in terms of the story, brilliant, because he broke into my house, he's gone near my kid, stuff entrances. I'm not waiting for it. So that part of it, I love.
Yep.
Now, this match went for just under half an hour. I'm not going to lie to you. When you watch it, it feels like an hour. It feels like it because it just goes and goes and goes and just gets worse and worse and worse. When I mean worse, I mean I can't watch this worse because it is disgusting, cringy. I'm going to throw up.
We'll start with the
worse,
basics, right? The first start of it was just punching, beating each other.
Yeah.
That's fine. Within a minute or two, Hangman went under the ring and pulled out a stapler.
Oh, the stapler. I forgot the stapler. That's how bad this gets. He stapled him forever.
All over him, right?
Staples paper to his face.
That was the point where I was like, oh, this is not great.
You could see the blood come out of his cheek straight away. And then for the rest of the match, when he turned his body, you could see the staples glistening as if he'd been covered in glitter.
Yeah.
That's how many staples that Swerve had in him. It was.
And he was already bleeding from the head.
Yep, he was already bleeding.
So there was blood everywhere.
And then what I didn't get from this, and I can't remember quite when it was, because obviously at some point the chair with the barbed wire was then introduced as well after the stapler.
Yes.
And it was after this that they then started doing some wrestling moves. And we both sort of went, well, why on earth would you now introduce... why would you introduce wrestling moves when you've already done stapler and barbed wire chair? You should have started with some wrestling and then gone straight to it. Or don't worry about the wrestling at all. Just have a brawl because it's a blood feud.
Yep.
Don't worry about the wrestling moves. Or if they're going to be wrestling moves, they're going to be ridiculously over the top, not just some fall-away slam and DDT in the ring with nothing else. Because why would you do that when you have weapons that you've already used? So that was a bit odd.
That was a bit odd. The initial part, so obviously Swerve was bleeding hard way. A lot.
Not gonna lie, a lot. For those of you that have seen Eddie Guerrero versus JBL, that's the kind of level we're talking about. And this was for majority of the match.
Yeah.
And this was a half-hour match. And for a good 20 minutes of this match, both of them were bleeding profusely. We thought there was multiple times where we're like, they're going to call this match. They're going to have to stop it. they are bleeding too much. Someone's going to pass out or someone's going to die.
There's a point where they showed Swerve. So throughout the match, we'll go through the spots and stuff later. There was a point where Swerve got Hangman up on the barricade.
Yep.
And like I said, you keep the fans away because there is too much blood to be anywhere near the fans. But because every time they punched and Hangman did that, blood everywhere. Like, It was just everywhere. The whole ring was covered. It's disgusting. He pile drived him onto the barricade right in front of the fans, and they fell down. And then they did a close-up shot on Swerve's face, and his eyes were red because they were full of blood.
Now we need to touch on this point because it was actually quite early on, and I don't think we realised how early on this was.
I do.
You do? You're getting to the point?
The staple point was before this. I'm just saying, there was no point in this match where the referee came out and wiped everybody down. They should have done that. The worst part with the blood was way before this point. So the spot where Ted mentioned where he was stapling everything to him, right? So he went to staple on the right cheek, like a post-it note type piece of paper. Stapled it, and it kind of just fell straight out.
Yeah.
He'd also duct taped his arms together, so Swerve couldn't stop him.
No.
And so then Hangman, rather than leaving the spot because it didn't work, was like, fuck it, I'm going to go the other one.
Yeah.
So he went to the other cheek, bang, stapled it in. The second it staples in his cheek, you see the blood start coming out. He then throws... I think Swerve tries to stop him, and then Hangman gets him on the mat and puts Swerve above him.
Yep.
And then Swerve is bleeding.
Profusely.
Just gushing blood. Hangman opens his mouth and drinks Swerve's blood.
Like actually drank it.
And
like mouth open, straight into his mouth, pouring over the sides, drinks his blood, throws him away, and gets up and
goes to the apron.
Cheers to the crowd. And he just drank the man's blood. Like, I'm sorry. When was it that AIDS became prominent? Was it 1991?
I mean, we're not watching Twilight, so I'm not too sure.
30 friggin' years ago, man. It's not even that. Like, other blood diseases, dude. Like, what the hell? What the
COVID, you can't cough on someone. It's all right. Just
dude,
bleed
if we don't hear more about this, I'll be shocked because, as you said, that stuff with the NW...
with the cocaine.
With the cocaine. Like, this to me is on the same level. Like, literally drinking someone's blood.
I get
it's pretty full on.
I get the blood match stuff, right? I get death matches. I understand what they were trying to... It just went a bit too far.
It could have been amazing.
I did mention to you that I'm guaranteed with the amount of blood they both had, John Moxley was out the back with a raging erection.
Oh, he died from multiple orgasms.
Oh, he would have loved this.
He died from multiple orgasms watching this.
So, some of the other spots that we haven't even gotten to yet. So there's
dude.
The barbed wire just came out everywhere. There was points where they wrapped barbed wire around each other's heads.
Yep.
They wrapped it around their arms, and
he wrapped it around Swerve and did the yep. The worst one, I think one of the worst ones was when Hangman was on the turnbuckle and the chair was on the ground. And Swerve before the powerbomb, and Swerve reversed it, picked up the chair, hit Hangman on the back with the barbed wire chair, and you see in the replay some of the barbed wire went over his face and hooked him in the face. So as Swerve then pulled the chair back, it pulled Hangman's face back. So it was real barbed wire. And this happened a couple of other times as well, where the barbed wire got hooked in places that it shouldn't. Then proceeded to get powerbombed onto that chair.
Yeah.
Tombstoned on that chair.
Yeah.
But that wasn't enough, because then there was a cinder block.
Yep.
Which was a real cinder block, it turns out.
Because he got Germaned onto the cinder block on the ring.
On the hardest part of the ring. And his shoulder fully bounced off the cinder block. And you know it did, because there was a blood patch.
Yep. On the cinder block.
Where he hit the cinder block and then went onto the ground.
Oh, man.
So, and it doesn't end there. This is my point. So what have we talked about so far? We've talked about the barbed wire chair.
The cinder block spot.
And then they come out with the board with the...
Whose house? Swerve's house on it.
Yep. With the barbed wire on it.
Yep.
Which you think this is surely going to be a finish to this match.
And I mean, how do you set that? You hang it against the corner or whatever? No, we're going to put chairs in the ring and put the board with
on
the
chairs
wire facing upwards.
Yep.
On the chairs in front of the corner. So we're going to do a top rope mega suplex spot onto the chairs or something. And it ended up being Hangman fall away slamming.
Yep.
Like moonsault slamming Swerve onto it. And then he picked him up.
The red eye. He did red eye.
And then he did the dead eye. That was the third one.
Dead eye. He did so he did those three. Still didn't finish the match.
So he did the top rope fall-away slam onto it. Picked him up, powerbombed him onto the...
Then the red eye.
Then picked him up, dead eye onto...
Dead eye? Is it dead eye?
Dead eye.
I said red eye again.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of Red Dead Redemption. That's why I'm thinking of it. Deadeye. So you think for sure that'll finish the match?
This was the one creative save I liked. It was this point where Swerve couldn't get up. You knew he wasn't going to get up because he was down. Prince Nana grabbed him from inside the ring,
and pulls him out so he's standing.
We've seen that spot before, but that was the one that
it was good.
10 minutes before.
Now, we've already had all the other stuff we talked about in this match. Swerve goes and gets a bag from under the ring.
I forgot this spot.
Yep. Dude, so much happened, it's ridiculous. Now, you're thinking straight away, like the rest of us, oh, God, thumbtacks. Do we even need them? This is out of control. Whether you will believe me or not, if you've seen it, you will. It wasn't thumbtacks. It was broken glass.
And he just poured
which he poured onto Hangman Page's back, who was on the mat in the ring just away from the turnbuckle. Swerve then gets up on the top turnbuckle, does a 450 splash, and lands his knees on Hangman's back, which is covered in glass. Broken glass. Dude, I nearly threw up watching this point because he gets up and you can see the glass that is embedded in his back, and some of it has embedded into Swerve as well. Then there was the spot after this where he wrapped Swerve in the barbed wire.
Yep.
And we realised it was real because you could see the puncture wounds from where it got caught, where he tried to use it to restrain him. Now, I've forgotten in what order all this happened because so much happened, and literally there was so many times where I was like, please, someone just stop the goddamn
Do you remember
match.
Brian Cage coming out?
Barely, but yes, he came out too. That's right. And then Hangman took care of him with some barbed wire, I believe, if I remember rightly.
Yep.
And so Brian Cage got taken care of, but the finish to the match, oh my God.
So there was we thought the finish should have been the buckshot lariat. So he wrapped the barbed wire around
his
head. Then he did the buckshot lariat, knocked him in, then they got up. Then they ended up going outside. That's when Brian Cage interfered because Swerve disappeared for a little bit.
That's right, he did.
Brian Cage hit a couple of power bombs on Hangman onto the barbed wire, and then Hangman ended up getting rid of him somehow. And then Swerve came back with the cinder block across the back of Adam Page's head, and it shattered everywhere. So I think this was the point where they switched out the real cinder block for the fake cinder block.
But this was smart because the first one was obviously real.
So we all thought it was
So he took a bump on, so when he hit him with the not real one, you thought, oh, it must be real.
Yeah.
But obviously those in the know would know.
And then he essentially just got a big chain, wrapped it around.
Well, no, because remember, he still got up after the cinder block. He let him stay down again, and he still got up, and that's when he got the big chain.
Yes.
And literally
Choked him out.
hangs Hangman.
But also, I think...
So wrapped around his neck, this is on the outside, by the way, so they're on the ground outside, puts the chain over the top of the turnbuckle and pulls it so that he chokes Hangman out, and Hangman literally just passes out. 10 count happens. We all go, oh my God, thank God, it's done. But then, I did like this part of it, but the match itself was just way too over the top. The fact that Swerve, as soon as he knew he had the 10 count, then just collapsed.
Yeah.
So that was good. Seth Rollins, take note.
We also missed the spot where Hangman did the Deadeye on Nana from the ring apron through a table.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. See, it just... There's so much happened. I forgot about Brian Cage, I'm not going to lie. But, like, don't get me wrong. There were parts of this, if you could cut out 2/3 of it, it could have been a great match.
If you love blood matches, if you love death matches and absolutely brutal wrestling,
then go watch this.
This is 1,000% the match for you. They went absolute ham.
Yeah.
They went as hard as possible. They beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And they took a whole ton of bumps. They're all going to be really sore. It is, for what it was and what they tried to do, well done.
But 100%, I mean, that means that neither of them are going to wrestle for at least a month, right, Dan?
I guarantee you Daniel Garcia versus Swerve Strickland is going to happen on Rampage this week. Like, it's going to be something stupid that Tony Khan's just going to book Hangman Adam Page in a 6-man tag with the Young Bucks against the House of Black. You're like, what the...
I just, like, don't these guys have families, right? Don't do this to the man.
They were dead.
The insurance cover, surely. How can they afford it? Look, at the end of the day, fun match, and I'm sure there's a lot of wrestling marks out there going, it was amazing. It could have been amazing. It was just way too much. It was way too much.
You either like this level of intensity in a blood match, or it's a bit too much for you.
Yeah. It was scary.
It kind of went a bit too far for us, I think.
Yeah, it was scary. 100. I mean, there was a couple of times where we literally wanted to look away from the screen. It was that bad. So,
and I mean, like for those listening to, obviously, like my son Lachlan watches the wrestling with us normally. A couple of times he came out, and me and Ted both said,
"No,
not for this match.
No, do not watch this." Look, yeah, I don't think there's much more we can say about this match. We've said everything we possibly can.
Yeah.
It's taking up half the podcast.
Go see the highlights just to understand how full on it was. It was a good story told. It was hopefully the end of a really good blood feud. I appreciate what they did. It just went a bit too far.
But then the problem for me with this one again, because we've only got 2 matches left on the card to talk about.
Sucked the life out of it.
It sucked the life out of the crowd. It sucked the life out of anyone watching. And obviously there was 2 matches coming that I think a lot of people were probably looking forward to. I mean, for me, the 3 main matches I was looking forward to was the 6-man tag at the beginning with the Patriarchy versus Edge and Sting and Darby. And then the other 2 were the Golden Jets versus the Young Bucks, and then the main event, obviously. And this just sucked the life out of everything, right? So maybe it should have been the main event. Maybe there shouldn't have been a title defense on this show, and you could have had it last as an unsanctioned match, and that would have made more sense because, man, follow this...
The thing is, they could never have put that match on TV. It had to be on pay-per-view.
Oh, of course it had to be on pay-per-view, but it could have been your main event. The way that it ended and the way that feud happened, the way they played it out, man, it should have been a main event.
Oh,
they 100% stole the show. Whether we loved the match or not, it stole the show just for the sheer fact of when you remember that pay-per-view, that's the main thing you're going to remember is that Hangman and Swerve nearly killed each other in the ring.
Yes,
for real.
Correct.
So
for realsies.
But then, okay, we get on to the tag match, Golden Jets versus the Young Bucks. And the story behind this, obviously, is the fact that Jericho's been teaming up with Omega as the Golden Jets, and the Young Bucks don't like Jericho, and they've sort of made that clear with Omega that, hey, what are you doing? We don't like this.
And they very clearly said in a promo beforehand that we'll put Jericho convinced them to put their guaranteed tag team title shot up if the Golden Jets win. And if the Golden Jets lose, Kenny and Jericho will never tag together.
Correct.
And we've been teasing the Young Bucks going heel. They've done a couple of low blows and things recently. They're being a bit more heelish in their matches. On Dynamite, they won with a low blow into a Judas Effect elbow into the BTE trigger. So they are sort of starting to turn. And I think the whole point with that entire promo, every time they kept on having these chats against Omega and Jericho would fight back. Because Jericho doesn't care, doesn't like him.
No.
But Kenny would just be like respectful and try and say, look, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
And obviously that showed in this match.
Absolutely.
Because there was the moment early on where Jericho was in the ring, had one of the Jackson brothers, I'll never try and remember which one it is because it's too hard, kicking him in the corner. Referee's there counting the 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. You can't keep him in the corner. Omega then tags Jericho to get himself in and not to attack
Let's say Matt
Jackson. It was to push Jericho away and say, hey, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's not how we do this.
Yep.
So showing a little bit of respect towards his friends, the Young Bucks. And then that story kind of got lost a little bit for a while in this match because the match did go for a while. It was about 20 minutes or so. And I feel like there was a little bit there where we didn't really see much more from that story of Omega being like, hey, let's fight respectively. There was a bit of a gap where they didn't really tell that story.
Yeah, they kind of kept them apart. Omega and the Bucks just did basic sort of wrestling moves where Kenny would just prove that he was sort of... They all knew each other so well. And the commentators kept saying so much that, they were the trios champions throughout this year. If there's any 3 wrestlers on the roster that know each other's moves backwards, it's Kenny and the Bucks. The other story that they tried to tell throughout the whole match was Jericho's arm. They injured Jericho's arm.
So he can't do the Judas
effect. So he could do the Judas effect. I think that the problem that they probably didn't realise, and I think Jericho and that would have the shits massively, was that they cut open Jericho's arm so it's bleeding. And normally, like that sort of thing in a match, you play with the blood, you're like, oh, geez, that's pretty bad. We just watched 2 guys swim in a pool of blood.
Literally.
In the last match.
So it doesn't have the effect anymore.
We didn't care. No one cared at all that he was bleeding.
We looked at that and went, put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah. And I don't think that's what they wanted. I think they wanted to, oh my God, his arm's falling off.
I said this to you at the time. When Jericho came out with Omega, I got the body language from Jericho that he wasn't happy. And I feel like it might have been because of the match before taking so much spotlight. Which I think he's probably happy for them, but he probably thought, oh my God, this is the worst timing that we've come after this.
Yeah.
But that was the story. Obviously, there was, the normal spots you would have in a Young Bucks match. They actually wrestled.
It was a good wrestling match.
It was a good wrestling match, and I actually enjoyed it. And you don't usually hear me say that about the Young Bucks. But we essentially got to the point where finally he got given the low blow by the Young Bucks. So
Yeah,
Kenny Omega got kicked in the groin.
Jericho
Yep.
first, and Kenny saw it
Yep.
and was like, "Hey man,
What are you doing?" Yeah.
And that's when the ref took, let's say, Nick Jackson and pushed him back.
I'd love to go back and actually see if we were correct on which one
And then, so then Nick's talking to the ref, and when that happens, that's when Matt hits Kenny with the low blow, and you're like, "Oh, they're doing full heel here."
Yeah.
And then they sort of fought a little bit more. There was some really cool spots with, I think they did stuff with Kenny on the outside. They kept throwing him outside the ring, so he wasn't involved. Then they had the spot. Jericho was on the ropes, 619 spot, and so was one of the Jacksons. And Kenny was in the middle. And then Kenny
Setting up for the V-trigger.
had to pick who was going to tip the V-trigger on. And he pointed at Jericho and we're like, damn it, Kenny's turning with the elite. And they're going back. And he runs straight at Jericho for the knee, and misses him. And
Off the
runs
ropes.
back and hits the Young Bucks. So that was a really good spot. They teased that turn of Kenny and it didn't quite happen. And then the ending was sick. They did a couple of different spots. They went for the Meltzer driver once he broke it up. The second time they went for the Meltzer driver, when one of the other Young Bucks jumped off the ropes, Jericho ran in, code break it in midair.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a cool
That
spot.
was a good spot. Except now that the One-Winged Angel
This hurt me.
is now being kicked out of, but that's because, let's say, Nick Jackson performed the One-Winged Angel
On Kenny Omega.
and we thought, well, that's it, because no one ever kicks out of the One-Winged Angel except for Kenny Omega himself, because it's his move, and he's like, damn you, I can kick out of my own finishing move. So now that's been ruined. So that now opens for someone else to kick out of the One-Winged Angel.
But then Kenny won with the One-Winged Angel.
Correct. So he did that move, got the win over, let's say, Matt Jackson.
And then Nick Jackson broke a chair on the outside, I think, while Matt Jackson...
Well, they essentially chucked a tantrum, didn't they? So Kenny and Jericho got the win. They started chucking a tantrum. Let's say Nick took off his shoe.
This is the best. I love it.
Took off his shoe and flinged it at Don Callis,
Yep.
who was on commentary, who then turned on the Young Bucks and said that's despicable behaviour.
Yeah.
So then they proceeded to try and rip apart parts of the ring and the announce table, smashing chairs, literally just chucking a temper tantrum,
Absolutely.
which was good. But as we said, I feel like they should have maybe directed it more towards Kenny a little bit. But it was good. I like where the story's going with it. And I do think the Young Bucks, let's say Nick and Matt, work better as heels. So I like where that's going. I don't mind Kenny and Jericho teaming up either. I mean, I do like that idea, and you forget about it. The fact that it was pointed out by the world's greatest commentator, Excalibur, that both of them are former AEW world champions.
Both from Winnipeg, both Canadian.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
I like it. I think it's good to keep Kenny interested in something for a little while, because he will, like I said earlier, I think he will be the one that beats MJF eventually.
do you reckon?
I think so. I don't think Jay White gets another shot.
No.
I don't think Samoa Joe wins when he does. I think it's MJF that gets the title because Omega, because I think Omega Ospreay All In is the match.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you could have that match without the title, but I reckon if you want to make that as big as possible, you give Will Ospreay winning the AEW World Title at Wembley. That's your spot.
Yeah, true. Look, all in all, it was a good match. I think it just suffered from its placement on the card after the death of Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland. It's very hard to follow a funeral. Yeah, look, good match, good tag match. One of the best I've seen from the Young Bucks in a long time, actually. And I'd say it was probably because it was with their mates, Jericho and Omega.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I think that probably helps.
All four guys, they're that level of professional wrestling for a reason. They're all very good.
Very true. Then we get on to our main event.
We do.
We get on to the main event. So
Adam Cole
Yeah.
versus Jay White.
Adam Cole. And this was funny because, again, Adam Cole came out first, which I get. He's not the champion, but normally the champion comes out second and he's there on behalf of the champion, but he came out first. But we could see why he came out first, because obviously Jay White comes out with the belt, comes out with the Gun Brothers, and they're making fun of him and hobbling around.
I do love when Adam Cole, like, how he normally does his baby spot, right?
But he sat.
He had to sit up on the apron because he couldn't get anywhere else. Adam Cole, baby.
Baby.
Boom. It was a great entrance.
And he was legit, like, he was still in his he looked like stuff, like, if you were at home injured and you're just on your couch, that's what he was wearing, right? T-shirt, shorts.
And a brochacho singlet.
Yeah. man, he was just, and we're thinking the whole time, we're like, no, surely something's going to happen. And what we actually thought was going to happen, our pick, was going to be that Samoa Joe was actually somehow going to be involved, either by saying that he'd step in or would come in and essentially beat up Jay White so that Adam Cole could get the win, because obviously MJF has to retain the title for Samoa Joe to get his shot. Correct. So it would make sense for Samoa Joe to come in and do that. Yep. So we thought maybe that was going to be the case. But no. So all of a sudden we hear some sirens in the background. Here comes an ambulance coming back in to the stadium. And who's driving it?
Your scumbag.
Our scumbag, MJF, who comes out with a bandaged quad. I love when they do that, because it's like, why would you bandage it? A bandage does nothing.
On your quad's going
to does nothing. So he comes out to the ring, he's hobbling, and this is where Dan ruins it for me. Because he comes out, the music hits, he comes out, then proceeds to be followed by 20 officials, referees from the back, all saying, no, MJF, you can't do that. And as Dan pointed out, he goes, where were they all when Adam Cole came out with a busted ankle?
With an ankle and an ankle boot on crutches. No, you can go and have a
you can do
match.
it, but MJF, no, you can't go out there. And to our surprise, MJF actually goes down to the ring and actually had a full match with Jay White. And this went, we found out in the end, it was only 10 seconds less than the funeral match between Swerve and Hangman. So, look, good match. I'm just going to put it out there. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this match. There was multiple spots in it that I think were quite good.
Yep.
Again, this match suffered from the crowd having the life sucked out of them a little bit. However, the way the match went, I don't think you needed to have the knee injury or quad injury for MJF.
I don't think you did. I think the problem that I said to you as well with this match was that if you've injured MJF this badly, you've got the Guns beating him up, you've got all this sort of other stuff happening, and Jay White doesn't win, you're burying Jay White.
Yeah.
Because all through the lead up, Jay White stole the title. He's had the Triple B the whole time. The Guns have always been one step ahead of him.
He's had it over him,
They, in the 8-man tag they had 2 weeks ago, Jay White pinned MJF clean after a switchblade. So you're like, well, you're giving MJF the win, right? But if it was just a good one-on-one match, bit of outside interference, blah, 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 and then MJF still wins, Jay White is fine.
Yeah.
But at this point, you have made us look that MJF is not even 50%.
No.
All the cards are stacked in Jay White's favour. Everything is for him, and he's still lost.
But it was a good match, though, as well. That's the problem I have with it. They should have just let it be a match without an injury. And I get it's the whole babyface thing, right? Overcoming some sort of obstacle and adversity.
With Cody Rhodes, yeah.
And, the fact that he's bandaged.
Quad into it. Adversiquadity?
No, now you're stretching it.
All right.
My favourite spot from the entire thing was actually the RKO
that was a good spot.
that MJF did from inside. So Jay White was on the outside of the apron, outside the ropes, and somehow with a busted quad, MJF still leaps over the rope like a high jumper, and gets Jay White and does a cutter to the floor.
Yep. Inside the ring out.
Inside of the ring to
Great
the
spot.
outside of the ring. Brilliant spot.
He also hit the kangaroo kick.
He did, with a busted leg again, which is pretty impressive.
There was
the mud show spot, should we mention?
The mud show spot that I had was the table. So the spot was clearly going to be that MJF put Jay White on the table and then does a top rope elbow from inside the ring out, puts him through the table. The second he rolled Jay White to the table, the table
it just collapsed immediately.
And just fell over. And like perfectly like the way that it does. Just all falls apart, nothing breaks, just straight to the ground. And I just think MJF looked at it and just went, fuck it, all right. And he just went to the top rope and did the elbow drop anyway.
But what I did like, though, first of all, the commentators did what the commentators do and tried to sell it off like, oh, all the other beating the tables taken all day, all night, it's weakened it. And so anyway, MJF gets up there.
Excalibur, that's exactly what it was.
But what I did like was that MJF literally gave the thing of, fuck it, like he gave that body language. And when he was standing up on the turnbuckle, did the crazy, I'm nuts thing next to his head, like, I'm going to do this anyway, screw it. And then literally proceeds to do an elbow drop from the top of the turnbuckle, essentially to the floor, with no table to break the fall, pulls it off perfectly, and I don't know how he landed it. I don't know if he's ever practiced it, but well done to MJF because we pretty much forgot the fact that the table broke because he just got on with it and did an awesome elbow drop. The other major point in the match, obviously, was later on when Jay White got MJF into a figure four.
Yes.
And we had Adam Cole's... By the way, the Guns got sent away from ringside very early on in the match because they
kept interfering.
So they got sent away, right? Which they got a massive pop as usual. But Adam Cole was still ringside the entire time. Obviously can't do much because he's busted. But he had a towel. A yellow towel.
That was MJF's shirt.
MJF's shirt, which they used as a towel, called a towel.
Yeah.
And there was a spot where MJF was in the figure four and he would not give up. And Adam was giving off this thing of, I can't watch you do this. I can't watch you get injured. And there was this moment where you thought, oh my God, he's going to do it. He's going to throw in the towel for MJF. So
that happened to MJF earlier in his career.
I believe so,
One of
yes.
his previous runs that was Wardlow that did it on him.
Yes, correct.
Threw in the towel on MJF.
So they teased that, which was a good tease. But MJF was able to reverse the figure four.
Yep.
Reverse the weight, which we all know when you flip it the other way, that's how it works. Yep. So that itself was a really good spot. I can't know. Oh,
there was the belt.
There was the belt. So
MJF was in pain from that. So
correct.
We went to him. Jay White went to the ropes, and Adam Cole had the ROH tag title
and was going to hit.
Went to go hit Jay White with it, but obviously because he's injured, he can't Rawr. So Jay White just grabbed it off of him.
Smacks MJF in the head.
Smacks MJF. That was the 2K you popped.
Oh, dude, I thought that was it. It was we're talking 2.99999999999. It was a brilliant kick out. I thought the match was over for sure.
So then you were like, oh, Adam Cole then thinks, oh, I've screwed up. I gave him the belt. Then he went and MJF got a low blow on Jay White behind the referee's back after a ref bump. Once the ref went down, because we know they're made of glass, they're instantly out. The second someone touches them. Adam Cole got the diamond ring.
Yes, he did.
Put the diamond ring on the apron. MJF, it's yours. And MJF reached for it. Jay White pulled him out of the way. Then Jay White grabbed the ring.
Puts it on his hand.
Gives Adam Cole
the finger.
And then he hits MJF with it. Doesn't he? Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he did.
And then the ref gets up. 1, 2, kick out.
Kick out, yes. And then the Guns came back.
Yeah, and that was the point when MJF... How did MJF get the ring thing back off Jay?
Dude, I can't even remember now.
He reversed Jay White and knocked him down with some move. I can't even remember what it was.
Yeah.
Let's assume it was a Canadian Destroyer.
Probably.
And then he grabbed the ring off Jay White, and then that's when the Guns ran in, and he smacked both the Guns with the diamond ring, so they were instantly straight out of the way.
Yeah.
Then he smacked Jay White with it, put it in his trunks, lied down, and the ref was still out.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, this isn't going to happen. And then the ref turns around, and it's 1,
2,
3.
3.
And I was like, oh.
That's it.
That's the finish.
And that's the finish. So Jay White somewhat gets buried because he can't beat an injured MJF.
Yeah.
Look, as I said,
he's going to blame Adam Cole.
I think it would have been a great match without the injury. I think it would have been fine. I don't think the injury was necessary. I don't think the whole thing of taking MJF away and bringing him back, I guess it gave a bit of a pop that he came back, but I just don't think it was needed, man. It was a good match. You could just let them have a good match.
Yep. The only thing is if they're doing that so that there's a rematch where they are both at 100%.
Possibly.
There's no...
Possibly.
Maybe you do it... do they have Hell in a Cell? Or like a cage match or
cage
something?
match, I guess. Yeah, they'd have a cage match.
Where you can keep the Guns and you can keep Adam Cole away. You put just the two of them in a cage and then...
Yeah.
That way you can settle it between those two. But also you've got now Samoa Joe who's waiting for his title shot because they shook hands.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm not going to lie. I really want to see Samoa Joe and MJF have their match. But look, overall, pay-per-view, how did you feel?
Look, it was 5 hours of wrestling.
Yep.
From the 0 hour through to it. So it was a long slog. And like you said, some of the matches in the middle made them feel way longer than they should have been.
Yep.
I think it was 4 hours of wrestling that could have been 3.
Yep. True.
Some of the highlight, there was good matches. The Bucks and the Golden Jets match was good.
Yeah.
The tag 4-way ladder match was good.
Yeah.
The death match had its moments. It was quite good. So I'd say it's at least a 3.5 star pay-per-view.
I'd agree with that.
But I think that if they just tightened a few different things, I think you get rid of the Ospreay announcement that did not need to be on the
it didn't need to be there at all. Didn't need to be there.
I think the pacing of the women's matches, if you switched the order,
yes,
and you put the Julia Hart win early for the big crowd pop that she gets it, and then later on we give Toni Storm, because I don't think anyone cared too much around the Toni Storm winning the title against Sheeta because we all kind of thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, don't put it early, put it later.
Yeah.
If you put that match after the... You don't want anything after that blood match.
No, that's the biggest problem, man, is that blood match the way it was. Nothing could follow it.
Yeah.
It really had to be the main event, but I get that your title should be your main event, right? But
I think the only thing...
there's no way you could follow it.
But the only person in that entire company that could have followed that match was MJF.
True. Very true.
So maybe it had to be second last.
True. Oh, I don't know, man. Difficult day. But to me, I wouldn't have put it on that card. I would have had it separate and have it on a pay-per-view where you don't have a title match and that's your main match, and have it like as an unsanctioned match at the end of the pay-per-view.
I think it was a good pay-per-view. I think there's definitely matches worth watching. Go and watch the Bucks and Jets match because that was good. Go and check out the spots from the ladder match.
Yeah.
Definitely check out, if you can stomach the blood, definitely check out the
if you're squeamish, look out.
And watch the Christian Edge stuff at the start. I think that was also really good. And I think, and I hope, please, Tony Khan, from an AEW perspective, this has closed off a bunch of storylines.
I hope so.
I think
really
this is a reset now. Some of these feuds are done. And we can start moving on to some fresh things, because weekly AEW has either been this person's in a random match against this person for no apparent reason, or it's the same feud we've had for 4 months.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to some new things. Let's give the Blackpool Combat Club someone different to fight. Let's give
or break them up, might even be better. I'm sick of it.
Who knows?
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, look, I agree with you, man. 3.5 stars, I think. It didn't feel as long as some of the other ones we've watched. I know there were times where we thought, this feels a bit long, but as a whole, I actually thought
a whole, generally,
it wasn't too bad. But let us know what you think in the comments. If you've seen All In, what did you like? What didn't you like? Sorry.
We were all in for Full Gear.
We were all in for Full Gear. I just said All In and I have it in my head. What did you think of Full Gear? Did you like it? What did you think of the death match? What was your favourite match?
I'm interested to hear your comments on
the death
what
match.
you thought of the death match specifically, because it's, even from a quick flick through Twitter and what we've seen, or X, whatever you want to call it,
people love it or hate it.
Yeah,
love it or
very
hate
much
it.
So.
Did you love it? Did you hate it? What were your other matches you thought were great? What was missing? What would you like to see next time? Thank you so much for joining us. Rowdy, we miss you, buddy. We have to try and fill a lot more airspace when there's only 2 of us talking. So we can't wait until you get back. Make sure you look out for our other weekly episode talking about all other wrestling during the week. Thank you so much for joining us here for our pay-per-view review.
Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube.
Please.
Want to see more subscribers and comments, because I definitely want to, like we said, I want to hear everyone else's opinions. We want to have a good, productive chat in the comments.
I'm still happy to uphold the whole doing the mud show
animation when we get to 100.
When we get to 100 subscribers. I'm happy to hold on to that too. So thank you for joining us here in Madison Square Garage around the pool table of relevancy. Thank you, Mr. Daniel Danielson. Thank you, Mr. Styrofoam Rey Mysterio. I am Booker Ted. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you next time. What do we do, Sesame?
Sesame Teddy!
Hey!